Okay, I don't know why I decided this was the best angle, but this is apparently the best angle. I mean, natural lighting works. Sorta. Interesting background. Yeah, yeah. Maybe if I kneel. Maybe if I kneel. Okay, maybe if I don't kneel. Hang on. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna do this from the floor. Because I am not cleaning up the mess that's on my chair right now. But, hi. 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 Now, I made a video like this over on my art channel, Shorter Than the Easel. But I've been thinking about it a lot, especially since I've been seeing more artists talk about this. And this whole thought started with the, or at least my take on it, started with the Ghibli AI thing. The quote-unquote trend. Actually, hang on, is there a better spot for me to... Oh, hang on. I got a stool. Oi. Got this. Ha-ha. Ha-ha-ha. More comfortable. But if you follow me on Blue Sky, I've been tracking my response, in a sense, by drawing my own Ghibli-inspired piece. And it was a picture of me and a creature that... a giant crack... I almost said cat and creature at the same time, and it almost came out crat. But it was me and a cat creature, a giant cat-like creature, inspired by my cat, who I miss dearly, and she was amazing. But it really got me thinking of why people do that. Why people do the AI trends, or quote-unquote trends. Back when it was just like TikTok filters and no one really knew what they were, because even I will admit to having used the old AI TikTok filters that looked like absolute garbage, or would recycle the same few results, just slapping people's faces on it, like really bad Photoshop. But once I learned how AI is sourced and everything, I stopped using those. But when it comes to like everyday people using it, it's just a matter of, oh, it's another filter, in a sense, because they don't really know or think about it. But as far as artists using it, because I've seen a lot of artists doing the Ghibli AI trend, and these are also a lot of artists that I've seen who can do amazing work, but also then feed their work into a machine to finish it, outside of just doing the Ghibli trend. But the Ghibli thing feels like a slap in the face to what Ghibli said on an early form of AI a handful of years ago. So to choose his styles, or the Studio Ghibli style specifically, it does feel very intentional. But going back to what I was saying about seeing other artists using AI to finish their work, it makes me feel like there is sort of a growing insecurity in artists because of AI. Because these are people who got to where they are now through years of practice and just pursuing what they have this passion and interest in. And seeing them essentially give up, in a sense, by feeding their work to the machine for the machine then to finish it. Thank you, bird. You have so much to say. I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a bird that will not stop talking. But it has just as much to say as me, apparently. But back to what I was saying. I do feel like with how quickly generative AI and the various models being used are improving, it's causing this insecurity in a lot of artists, because I don't want to say it's competition, but it's competition in a sense, because you can argue all you want and be in denial saying, oh yeah, no, it's not replacing artists, but companies are literally, and I am constantly on job hunting sites seeing this, companies are literally posting artist listings that are actually AI prompter positions, and it's disheartening, because you're seeing more and more of these positions popping up, and more or companies cutting actual whole lines of work to replace them with these generators and prompters. Because it's essentially what generative AI is. It's prompting. It's not necessarily you doing the work. And I've seen a really good comparison on Blue Sky that I agree with 100%. And I think I even made a post about that, agreeing with it, because I wanted to talk about it more. And that generative AI prompting is more like commissioning an artist, but in this case, the artist, quote-unquote artist, is the machine. It's the generator. Because you are giving the quote-unquote artist a prompt to then fulfill. But the only difference here is they're not necessarily paying for the art, even though they are, well, a lot of people are paying for the more advanced features that these generators offer. So while they're not willing to pay to commission someone to actually make an original piece for them, they're willing to pay for the more advanced features that these generators have. But even the little bits of input that people will add, so like say you're collaborating in a sense with these generators by feeding your own work to it, then constantly making little tweaks and edits to the results to then refeed to the machine. Those tweaks and edits aren't you really contributing to the piece. It's like the revision process of making a commission, where you're requesting revisions to what's being commissioned. And I mean, technically, even collaborating with it technically isn't a collaboration, because then I feel like for it to be a collaboration, you would have to then get in contact with the creator of the generator, in a sense, and the creator of that model specifically, and be like, hey, do you want to get together, and or do you count this as me and you collaborating? And because that's what any collaboration is. It's two typically people working together. So in this case, I feel like the machine necessarily isn't, like, it is and isn't the artist, because it's a result of something created by a human. But it's still a machine, and it's not necessarily a tool. It's essentially like photocopying something repeatedly to the point where it's just a jumbled, garbled mess, and you can't really recognize certain things, and you're just constantly making edits and re-photocopying it. But that's how it feels to me, and I've seen a handful of other people talking about it feel. Now, before any, like, die-hard AI users or generative AI users get on my case in the comments, my beef is not with you necessarily, and it's not with the generative AI, even though I do have my issues with the technology when it comes to how it's been sourced, how its effect on the environment goes, because the amount of energy this uses, the amount of water it uses, not good. But my beef isn't with the technology necessarily, it's been how it's used and abused. That's my issue. My issue is with how it's used and abused, and how it's been used and abused, and very quickly used and abused. But I feel like with how quickly these generators can sort of pump things out, you're seeing more of this building insecurity in artists who are really good and who have spent years practicing and working to get where they are give up on improving more because they see this as a quicker option, and it's really disheartening to see, because you see these artists wanting to get to a certain point and a certain skill level, or achieve a certain look or a style that I know they can easily get to if they just try a little harder, just actually attempt to practice and get to that point. Just feeding their work to the machine to finish it for them, because they don't think they can get to that, or they don't think they can do that. And again, it's disheartening. It really is. And it hurts. It really does. And I just realized I didn't actually record an end to that video. I just kept talking. But moral of the video, you don't need AI to grow as an artist to get to the point that you want to as an artist, to achieve the look you want as an artist. You got where you are now as an artist by constantly practicing and continuing to pursue that passion and that interest and that determination and want to be better. You literally got here through your hard work as an artist. And you can get exactly where you want to be that same way. Yeah, it might take a little time. But sometimes things don't take as long as you think they will. You just gotta be willing to get to that point and willing to improve. So yeah, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Comment your thoughts below. We can agree to disagree on generative AI. I'm not in the mood to get into a full debate. I just wanted to share my thoughts as a creator and as an artist. And if you want to see more of my content, subscribe. So yeah. Also, hello to my thumb because I am holding my tablet very awkwardly. So yeah, no, I will see you guys in the next video. Whenever that is. Bye.